Okay, so this is a test, and basically what we're going to do is just talk about whatever we want. I want to get an idea of, well, since we don't have the other mic, it doesn't really matter. But yeah. I kind of want to get an idea of how it records both of us together. And I think what I did was I turned your mic up to 50. But I think what I'm going to do is actually just turn both of them down.
Okay.
So mine's at 80. I'm going to turn it down to 60. And yours is at 100. So I'm going to turn it down to 80. Okay. Let's try talking now. So you can talk.
Me?
Yeah.
All right.
Is that how you're actually planning on sitting, though?
I think a lot of times I sit kind of like this. And let me scoot in a little more.
Sure. You scoot in as much as you want. Scoot that little tashy-tushy in.
Okay. So, yeah, I think I'd be more like this. I do tend to lean on my hand or sit back kind of like this. But I think overall this is like a good representation of how I would sit when I'm talking.
You're using my I'm being recorded voice.
Yep.
I have an I'm being recorded voice too.
Yeah, I think everyone does.
It's a little
right?
like my I'm being recorded voice is like a little deeper, which is weird because
it's a little deeper.
If I just have like the vlog camera,
yeah,
I feel like it's pretty much my normal voice. If anything, it might be a little higher. But when I have a microphone in my face, I feel like my voice goes a little bit deeper, and it's more like just a little bassy.
I feel like having a microphone in your face is kind of like it's intimidating, and so I feel like it brings out these other things in you. Kind of like, well, when I worked in an office, like when you get on a call with a client, you kind of like everyone would have their like client call voice for that same reason. Yeah.
Client call voice. So. I was just thinking as you were talking, maybe I will post this. Maybe this episode will literally just be called literally a mic test.
Like a black screen video?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Whatever.
So if this does go live, just to give you all context, we have one of the new microphones.
Which I'm using.
Yes, exactly. And then we're using the microphone that we use to film our videos. I have that microphone. It's too bad that you can't see this because...
It's covered in cat hair.
Well, yeah. Okay. First of all, if you think that's funny now, just imagine all the times I've gone out on freelance stuff and like pulled this thing out of my bag and it's got like basically just like a cat built into it.
Yeah, they're like, oh, is that the windbreaker for it? And you're like, nope, just cat hair. Just natural.
Straight up cat hair. You're so cute.
Thank you.
Too bad people listening can't see how cute you are.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically the point of this test, essentially what I want to see is whether I really can, in this recorder, do sort of a mix down that I don't need to later edit and raise your volume because as we all know, you are much quieter than I am. And I project.
Yeah.
Like this is something I recently realized, which is I'm not just loud, my voice carries, like it penetrates. It really like I feel like I could be an opera singer or someone like on a stage, an actor that's a thespian.
Yesterday you went outside to go do something and you were talking to someone out on the sidewalk and I could hear you in our apartment.
No, I was right outside.
Oh, you were?
Yeah,
I thought you were like down the stairs and everything.
No, you're talking about when I was talking to the neighbor upstairs? Oh, or the woman that I was passing by.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was already up here.
Oh, okay.
She was headed downstairs. I was like 5 feet away from the door.
Okay. I thought you were down on the sidewalk outside, and I was like, dang. Okay.
No. And I was kind of talking really loud because she was far away from me. Like she was down on the sidewalk. I was up by our door by the time the conversation was really going. So,
But anyway, you do project.
I do project.
You are much louder than me. Yeah.
I'm mega louder.
Yeah. Way louder.
So basically, the issue that I've encountered with this recorder is that I'm not sure that I can.
Don't do it, applesauce.
Do it. Do whatever you're thinking about doing.
No, she was looking at the light socket.
What about it? What's she gonna do to a light socket?
Stick her little fingernail in it. I don't know. Because she'll like, if there's spots on the wall, like shadows or bumps in the paint, she'll like attack them sometimes because she thinks they're bugs. So I don't want her to think the light socket's bugs.
You think that this
Look, she's doing it right now in the corner. There's like a protruding part of the paint, and she just was batting at it.
Pretty sure she knows that a light socket's not a bug. I'm just saying. It's a guess. Maybe I'm wrong.
She just attacked another spot on the wall.
Okay, she is attacking random spots on the wall. Anyway, once this is recorded, it's not recording onto separate tracks, and there is a way to do that, but it's not really as simple as we need it to be, and we'd have to buy an adapter. I think we might have to buy a couple adapters. I'm honestly not really sure how we would do it.
That sounds complicated. And annoying.
Annoying is really the key takeaway here. Anyway, so I wanted to talk to you about what our podcast should be about. Mm-hmm. Do you have any ideas?
Mm-mm. I like what we were doing of just keeping it random.
I don't.
Oh.
I mean, I do and I don't. Like, it's fun to do, but if I'm being just like completely transparent, I don't want to just do something that we think is fun and that 5 other people think is fun. Mm-hmm. Like, as much as that means to me that 5 people listen and watch and comment, like, that's fucking amazing. Because like, the fact that 1 person would listen is incredible. The fact that 5 people would it blows my mind.
Yeah.
So this is not a, like, it's not to devalue. It's not that I don't value that. It's that I want to be able to do this on a regular basis. And in order to do that, we need to be making some sort of income from it. Even if it's 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years down the road. And I just don't see a random podcast that has no findability, because there's no, like, if you and I were famous, or even if we were just bigger, like if Logical Harmony was bigger, we had a way bigger audience.
Yeah.
Then I think a random podcast could do it. I think a random podcast could make it. If you and I were celebrities in some way and we had a random podcast talking, people would listen to it. But I think the thing that I've experienced that maybe you haven't experienced as much is that the drastic difference that having an audience makes. Like, you see Neil deGrasse Tyson or Elon Musk or Gary Vee, any of these people tweet the dumbest, most irrelevant, nonsensical, just random shit. And it gets thousands, tens of thousands of shares, tens of thousands of likes, tens of thousands of comments. And it's just, it has nothing to do with the content. It's not because what they're saying is valuable. It's just because they have that audience. And I just feel like we don't have a big enough audience to have a random ass all over the place podcast.
Okay. So then what do you think it should be about? What
I
are your
don't know.
ideas?
I don't have any ideas. Well, I do have some ideas, but none of them are like fully formed. Like, sometimes I have ideas and I'm like, this is exactly what we should do. 100% bingo bango. Here's how we're going to do it. And then other times I have these ideas that are more like mist. You know? Like, there's a difference between an ice cube and
like
mist.
M-I-S-T.
Yeah. Not like M-I-S-S-E-D.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. I don't know, man. The podcast idea that keeps coming to my mind is like our relationship. Mm-hmm. Like I like the idea of talking about like what struggles and what successes did we have. Like how you were so mean to me today for no reason. You know what I mean? Like I feel like we could
But see, I feel about that, like I don't think people like that worked for like Casey and Candace because they're like celebrities. Like I don't think that would work for regular people either. To me, that's the same as like talking about random stuff.
Well, I don't know, because here's why I don't feel that way.
Hey, don't chew on those applesauce.
Applesauce. What? Stop it.
She's like, you got shoes? I'm going to chew on them.
What is your deal?
She wants attention.
Come here. I'll pay attention to you. Come here. You can sit on my lap.
She wants you to go to her and pick her up.
Come here.
She's feeling neglected. She wants you to go pick her up.
This is why I'm not having children.
She looked at me when you said that.
Could you imagine if she was a person? Oh my God.
She'd be kind of terrible. I love applesauce, but if she was a human, she'd be...
Come here, Mittens.
It's basically, I was seeing about her like attacking the wall and how if that was a kid walking up and like hitting and kicking the wall. Just for the heck of it. Because they think there's a bug.
What are you doing? I love the smell of our cats. I just love inhaling their smells. All right. Where were we?
I was saying how I feel like a relationship podcast also only works. Hey, applesauce.
Oh, so, okay. I hear what you're saying, but I disagree. And here's why. Because a relationship podcast, if we have good enough stuff to say, could grow. Like the audience could grow from that. Or like people might find us, or somebody might listen to it and go, oh, hey, like you're going through this podcast really helped me in my relationship. Mm-hmm. You should listen to it. Like there's like an aspect of shareability that just exists in anything. Sorry. The noises that you're hearing are the cats like sliding through the house. There's just something that exists that is like, there's a shareable aspect to it. There's a helpful aspect to it. There's something that one person could say to another person, here, listen to this because it provided me XYZ insight. And I think that an all over the place podcast would work if we were funnier. Like I'm pretty funny, but I can't just
shots fired.
I feel like for me being funny was a survival thing. Like in my family, you had to be like strong or witty or fun. Like you had to have something that like, this is pretty messed up actually, but you had to have something that basically gave the other people in the family enough value to like value you. And my thing was like, first of all, trying to be funny, but second of all, because my brother Ricky is so witty and so quick and so confident, even when he's wrong, that I had to develop that like in the moment, like, not that I think I'm super funny or super witty. I just think that you didn't, as a survival tactic, have to develop that. Like you developed like being sweet and caring and all these things that are definitely more valuable to like society as a whole. Like being compassionate, being like reasonable, being calm, like you know.
And also too, you grew up watching like more slapstick comedy and things like that.
What's slapstick?
Like Ace Ventura. Like
you didn't watch Ace Ventura?
I watched it like once. But like the humor and the comedy I grew up with was like more like dry humor. Yeah. So I think we grew up around two different sets of humor too.
Right.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess my point is, neither of us are that funny. I'm definitely the funnier of the two.
Oh.
But B, my humor is pretty much based on circumstance and like what's happening in the moment. Like I don't necessarily just come up with jokes. It's generally like I can find something somebody said. And then like you said, your humor is much more like dry and sarcastic.
Yeah.
And while I think both of those ways of being funny can work, you and I have definitely not worked to develop them. And and so my point is just that I think you have to, you know, a podcast about random shit could work if we were funnier. That's the only point I've been trying to make this whole time.
But do you think that because that's the type of podcast you listen to? Like the ones that I listen to are mostly random, but they're not funny.
Okay, but why did you find them?
I found them because it's like a content creator that I enjoy.
This is my point, though. You found them because they were popular enough and had a big enough audience base that you were part of that audience base and found them. My point is, if 100,000 people, if you have a following of 100,000 people, and only 1% of those people listen to your podcast, that's 1,000 listeners.
Yeah.
We, and not even we, you have a following of significantly less.
Yeah.
And if, you know,
I guess
if 10 or 1% of those people listen to this, which they won't find it.
Yeah.
It'll be a way smaller number. And I will also say, I think that because our niche is so specific, that people, and because like we've talked about, people are so familiar with, or so regularly treat logical harmony as a service and not really familiar with you as a person. I think there are a lot of things working against us that I don't think having a random podcast will work out for us.
Okay.
To the extent that I'm not willing to do it, and I also feel like I should have a pretty significant vote since I'm half of creating it and 100% of producing it. Mm-hmm. You seem irritated.
No, I'm not irritated, but like the point I wanted to make is the people whose random podcasts I listen to, they don't have 100,000 followers.
Who?
They don't even have 30,000 followers.
Who are the people I need to fact check this because I don't believe that.
I'm fact checking it.
Let me see who you're following.
Okay.
Let me see who.
Like Jess Lively, she's 38.
Okay, but Jess Lively's podcast is not random. You cannot make that argument. Her podcast is 100% related to the content she talks about.
Yeah, that's true.
That's not random.
Okay.
If you had a podcast that was totally about cruelty-free stuff, that wouldn't be random.
Yeah,
if you had a
that's
podcast
true.
where all you did was talk to cruelty-free brand owners, like, that's, no. Doesn't count.
All
Pick
right.
another one.
Then I guess they all fall under that then. I don't, yeah.
So this is
Because I don't listen to that many podcasts because I think a lot of them are way too long.
I love long-form podcasts.
I just can't devote the time to it.
I understand.
Yeah.
But my point is just that, first of all, I agree with you that a random podcast can work. That's not what I'm trying to say. But unless I'm wrong, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like Jess Lively, her podcast is incredibly specific and niche. It's in no way random.
She usually picks, like, she talks about a thing that happened to her that week. Like, it's not like, here's a self-improvement podcast. Like, there are elements of that in it, but it's mostly like, sometimes, like, there have been episodes about her, like, decorating her new apartment and looking for furniture.
Okay.
So.
But I will guess that 100% of the podcasts that feel random have an underlying tone of exactly what her premise is, which is self-improvement.
Probably, yeah.
Like, I'm sure her whole redoing her apartment thing is lined with content about how it helps her focus and it helps her do this and how your space is so important. True. And that's totally self-improvement stuff.
Okay.
I'm not saying that there's not value in that. There's 100% value in it. I'm just saying you're kind of, I feel like you're trying to make a point against my point, but you're agreeing with me, which is it can't be random.
Okay.
I feel like you're giving up because you feel like I'm getting so intense about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm not trying to get intense about it. I'm just, I mean, tell me that that's not true.
I mean, yeah, I guess it's true. I don't, when I listen to those episodes, I see them as being random. It doesn't seem to me like she was like, okay, what's this formula for this podcast? Like, it's very casual. And I do think a lot of the time it is not necessarily fully off the cuff, but like, oh my gosh, what are they doing up there?
Sounds like they're moving furniture.
Yeah.
They have all that weird furniture up there.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
No, they're vacuuming.
No, that's not a vacuum. Vacuum would be way louder.
Oh. Anyway.
And you can hear it dragging. Anyway, go on. Sorry.
I forgot what I was saying.
Well, okay. Can I just make one other observation?
Mm-hmm.
And tell me if I'm off base here, because I want to know. I think this is one of the things we could talk about in a relationship podcast, which is we were raised with such different styles of arguing and disagreeing and having conversations. And I feel like because my style has always been so aggressive and so like black and white, and I'm working on that you shut down.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get you to not shut down, but I also want to be allowed to make my points. And I need to be able to communicate in the way that I communicate while trying to communicate differently. But here's the thing I would say about Jess's random episodes. You kind of just said this, which is sometimes they're random. Sure. Sometimes they can be random. Yeah, great. Okay. There are episodes of TV shows that we love that completely take they trail off from the main storyline and go off on something random. There's nothing wrong with that. My point is, I don't think there's a single podcast that you or I enjoy that is completely random.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
And I don't think that I think there's a certain lacking findability and shareability of random podcasts unless they are being done by someone who is famous or like famous at least in a niche, right? Like I don't think Jess Lively is famous. I don't think Gary Vee is famous. If you asked 9 out of 10 people who Gary Vee is, they wouldn't know who you're talking about. But in a certain circle, in a certain niche,
yeah,
he is. Maybe famous is the wrong word, but a certain level of celebrity, which you and I drastically lack.
Yeah, that's true.
I can sit here in silence as long as you can.
I don't think you can.
Oh, believe me.
Yeah, I mean, sure. If you feel like we need a topic or a structure, that's fine. I'm just not convinced that a relationship podcast is the way to go.
I'm not saying it is either. That was not my whole point of this was not to say that's what the podcast should be about. All I was saying was that that's something that I keep coming back to because I keep thinking, okay, what common interests do you and I have? Pretty much nothing. Like realistically, you and I basically have no interests in common other than like veganism and cruelty-free stuff, which I would argue I'm not that interested in. It's just how I live my life. Like being vegan is such a part of who I am that it's not like an interest. It's like having brown hair is not an interest to me. You know what I mean? Like being half Mexican, that's not like a hobby. It's not an interest. It's not something I research. It's just who I am. And so anyway, I feel like there are two things we have in common, which is working. We work together. We both like food and drinks. And our relationship. So I don't know what else there would be to talk about.
I mean, I think there's small things that we're both interested in. Like
what?
I was getting there. Like we both like self-improvement stuff. We're both lacking in it and talk about, our lack of and how much we don't commit to it right now. But I feel like, we're both really interested in that. I don't know. I feel like there's lots of little things, but I get your point. Little things don't necessarily make a good topic, and that's fine.
Well, no, I'm not saying that little things don't make a good topic.
Okay, but they don't make a good topic for us.
No, that's not what I'm saying either. Don't. I feel like you're trying to come up with things I'm going to say no to, and I'm not opposed to that. What I'm saying is, how do we make that into a regular thing that we talk about?
I don't know, because I'm also
that's my point. I don't know either.
Yeah, like I think that,
and I don't know what little things we're both interested in. Just because I say something doesn't mean you have to stop talking. I'm still listening.
Yeah, I don't know.
I want to hear your ideas. That's why I brought this up. That's why I started this whole conversation.
I guess I don't really know what my ideas are because so much of what I do is so much of what I spend my day on is work.
That's my point though. That's the point I've been trying to make. I don't know we don't do anything together other than work.
Like I can watch you fly your drone. Things
okay,
like that.
But
like
that's
we do.
You observing me doing something.
Yeah, that's true.
That's like me filming you. I go film you. That's not really like. I don't know.
I don't know.
Because the issue that I'm having is that whenever I come up with something, I immediately find a reason for why it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Like if I think about a work podcast, I feel like we don't have that much to talk about. Like there are some topics we can cover, like affiliate stuff, like all the normal stuff, but then I feel like it kind of fizzles out because we do the same thing all the time. Like it's sort of like exercise. I feel like if I were a nutritionist or a personal trainer, I would tell you all the exercises to do. I would tell you all the foods to eat, and then I'd be done. Like I wouldn't have more to say. I feel like that's how it is with me talking about what we do. It's like, listen, you guys just don't want to hear what I have to say because what I have to say is you have to work hard for years and do these same things for years.
I feel like I have so much more to say about it because I feel like you come at it from like the business side. And for me, there's a whole other side of like self-care as a content creator, how you handle criticism, all these sorts of things.
Okay, so this is sort of like, this is where for me it falls apart. How do we have a conversation about that though? Because we do such different things and have such different perspectives that I feel like it's almost as though we're talking about two different things. I don't see how it's a conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I was just saying, like, I would, like, the stuff that we have covered is not it for me. Like, there's more I have to say on stuff.
Can we pause this for a second? Because I just want to say, I'm not telling you that your idea is not good. I feel like I can tell from your body language and your tone that you feel like I'm telling your idea is bad. And I need you to know that that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that your idea is bad. What I'm saying is I don't understand how to make it a show. Yeah. That doesn't mean that it's not valuable. It doesn't mean that it can't be a show. I'm just saying I don't get it and I need your help. Okay. Like I feel like that's the part that's maybe missing is that you see it as me saying I don't get it and therefore it doesn't have value. And that's not at all what I'm trying to say. What I'm saying is I don't get it, so help me.
Yeah.
Like, tell me how that works because I don't see it. And as the person who, like I said, we're 50-50 on the creation and I'm 100% on the production, I have to get how it works or else I can't produce something.
Yeah.
Like, I can't create a product that I don't understand.
Yeah. So I think as far as, like, you know, the examples I gave, like self-care for content creators or how to deal with, like, negative comments, things like that, I think where you could have stuff to share and where it could be a conversation is sharing either what you see or how you help deal with it. Like you help moderate comments on YouTube. a lot of the time so that I don't see the worst ones.
Yeah.
And so like talking about like how there's value in that and like, you know, what the experience has been for you. Because maybe you haven't gone through it, but like you've seen what it's like for someone to go through those things.
Yeah. I don't know.
And like just maybe validating that there is importance to those things. Because I feel like content creators are so often told like literally things like, why do you need a self-care day? All you do is you film for like an hour a day and that's all the work you do. Like content creators in general are given so much shit for needing self-care and needing that time. And I think that external validation would be really helpful.
I guess for me still though, it's like another issue I see is like, don't you want like isn't kind of the point of us doing this to have a break from logical harmony?
Yeah, totally. The whole only reason I was saying that is you said you felt like from your standpoint you had exhausted all the topics you would have to talk about. And I was just saying, well, I haven't. I have more to say. I'm not proposing it as an idea for a podcast. I was just giving my input on what you had said. How for me there was more to go into.
Yeah, that makes sense. Can we talk about what we actually think could be a show, though?
Yeah.
I understand.
I felt like you got to say what you wanted about it, and I needed to say what I wanted about it instead of just moving on. Okay. I needed to have input.
Do you feel like you have had that input?
Not really. I feel like I got to say it, but I didn't feel like it was well responded to.
Okay, I'm sorry. I think I was responding to it in the context of I thought we were having a conversation about potential podcast ideas. Mm-hmm. I understand what you're saying. Yeah. And I also want to say, I don't think that that's a bad idea. And I don't think that it's a bad series idea. And I will say, especially for this channel, for the vlog channel, there are ideas about series that I have had that I plan to create, and they have nothing to do with you. Mm-hmm. And maybe it might be good for you to consider doing a similar series that has no relevance to me.
Yeah.
Where you sit down and talk about this stuff. I think that would be amazing. I think people would be super into it. Like, and that's my point, right? I think what you have to say is incredibly valuable. I think the concept is incredibly valuable. I just don't think that it's a podcast idea for us to do together in the long term. Mm-hmm. So, in regard to that, I still don't see how it could work. But in regard to you sitting down and doing a 6-part or however many part video series where you talk about that stuff and we put it up on the vlog channel, I think that's fucking awesome. Like, I would love that. Mm-hmm. That would make me super happy if you would do that. So, I mean, by all means, go for it. Like, mm-hmm. I would be, especially if it was just a kind of long form like this, where you could sit down and we set a mic up. Maybe you're sitting in one of the armchairs out here and you just talk about this stuff and just chat about it. Like 100%, I think you should do that. Okay. Okay. I like that your previous response is that you didn't feel heard and acknowledged. And then I go on this rant of how valuable your input is and your responses. Okay.
No, I appreciate it.
I need to go to the restroom. So should we pause this or do you just want to talk while I'm gone?
Let's pause it.
Okay, great.
Okay, I'm sorry that I didn't fully acknowledge your sharing.
Oh, it's fine. I think one of the great things about us is that the things that bother you don't bother me and vice versa. Like, I get super annoyed at things that you do that if I did them, it wouldn't even cross your mind.
Yeah.
And I think you get very emotionally kind of like hurt and drained by things that I do, that if you do them to me, I'm like, I don't fuck, like I didn't even think about it. Like I would say like an 80% of the time you sit down and like give me a serious heartfelt apology, I'm like, I literally didn't even cross my mind that even happened.
I guess the way that I feel is that if it's something I would want an apology for, it's something I should apologize for. Yeah. It goes both ways.
I understand. Go ahead. Sorry, interrupting is not.
So that's why I do it. Is even if I know it's not something you even notice or are bothered by, it's important to me to acknowledge it, because if I expect someone else to acknowledge it, I need to acknowledge it.
So,
you know, like within myself.
Yes. And this is where you and I differ. Because I personally feel like part of my own self-awareness.
Applesauce. Stop hunting Juniper.
That was a really cute hop, though.
Yeah.
She doesn't like it. That's why she's hissing at you. Junie. Oh, Junie.
She's like, I just wanted to smell the paper bag.
Is my water bottle there? Would you mind grabbing me some water? See, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that it's a good, like, compass, you know, like the whole golden rule thing. Mm-hmm. But, like, here's an example. I don't like being tickled. Mm-hmm. I would argue that you kind of enjoy it. You think it's kind of cute and, like, fun when I tickle you. Mm-hmm. So then it's like, well, if you enjoy it when I tickle you, should I apologize because I don't like it when you tickle me? Like, that doesn't make any sense, you know? Like,
no, it's just about, like, to me, it helps communicate the things that one might be upset by or bothered by, and that's an important part of it. Because, like, especially if it's something that I know doesn't get to you, then I need to make an effort to acknowledge it when I do it. Otherwise, I can't expect you to notice it if you do it. Does that make sense? Like, it's about being like, hey, this is... You know what I mean?
I think that makes sense, except that it's sort of furthering the issue, or not necessarily the issue, but the fact is, I don't see it. And when you apologize, I don't think, oh, this is something I should apologize for later. I think, I don't know why she's apologizing for this, because it's not a big deal. You know what I mean? Like I get how in principle and in theory what you're saying makes sense. It just, the fact is, it doesn't land for me that way.
Okay.
Just like how we've been together and been shooting videos for 5 years, and every time we film, I have to say, can you please look in the camera while I focus the camera and get the mic positioned? Every single time. Mm-hmm. And I used to get so upset about it. And now I just kind of think it's funny. I mean, it's still annoying, but I think it's funny because it's not worth my time. But, like, my point is, no matter what I say, it clearly never registers for you. Like, maybe it registers for you in the moment, but it never has a lasting impact. And I think it never has a lasting impact because you and I are just in completely different worlds. And let me just say one more thing, which is that is why I think a podcast about our relationship works. And let me also say, I'm not even sure how to make that work. Like, that's the other thing, right? Is like, I do not, if I have in any way come across as implying that I think a podcast about our relationship would be easy to come up with topics to talk about, or like that is not the case. That is not how I feel at all. I just feel like it would be the least difficult of all the options. That's it. I don't feel like it wouldn't be difficult. I just think it would be the least difficult, especially because you and I are really good at arguing with each other. And like, but like we've also talked about, for the amount of time that you and I spend together, which is the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep, unless we're going to the bathroom, which isn't even always the case, because oftentimes I pee while you're in the shower, or I pee with the door open.
Yeah, you always come in when I'm in the shower.
That's not true.
Okay, not true. Always. A lot.
Fine. My point is just that I think it's the one thing that we could constantly have something new to talk about, first of all. And second of all, bring a lot of value to people. And thirdly, have a really great insight, because considering how much time we spend together, we do not get in that many big fights or arguments.
No.
And
what is that?
Juniper? She's eating a applesauce.
Will you grab her? I can't get up. I'm wedged under the table.
Applesauce? What are you doing? You know you should not be up there.
She fully knows.
Oh, I know she knows.
She's a handful today. Today.
Have you ever noticed that when you're feeling sensitive and emotional and sad, that applesauce tends to act out more?
Yeah, she totally does.
Yeah, interesting.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, all I'm saying is, I don't think a podcast about our relationship would be necessarily easy. I just feel like it would be the easiest of all of the options.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that you and I definitely have a lot of good stuff to share, as far as like having a quote unquote modern relationship, working together, like being able to be together for the lengths of time that we are. I mean, I don't know, we've talked about this before, but I think about it all the time. Like, people meet each other, they date, they fall in love, they get married, and they say, I'm going to spend the rest of my life with you. And then they spend 8 hours a day at work and approximately 8 hours sleeping.
And commute time.
Right, which, yeah, that's 16 hours. And then you add in commute time. Let's just assume the average commute is 30 minutes. So that's 17 hours of the day. Mm-hmm. And then when you factor in, like, just all the other stuff you have to do, running errands, cooking, like all the little things, especially if you have kids. Yeah. All the stuff you're not doing with the person that you said you wanted to spend the rest of your life with, you're spending like probably not even a part-time job's worth of time together a week. Mm-hmm. And how many marriages fail? How many people can't communicate? Honestly, maybe a big part of it is that they've never had to learn. Yeah. Like for us, not like, if I get really mad at you, I can't work because all of my work revolves around you.
You're seeing my face on the screen and stuff.
Yeah, no, seriously. Like, a lot of times when we... Applesauce, you kidding me? A lot of times when we get into, like, arguments where I'm, like, actually upset, it's a hindrance, and I either have to calm myself down or I just have to stop working because I can't stare at your face when I'm mad at you. I'm like, God, get her away from me.
Will you get her that box, the green one? Just turn it on its side or something for her. Thank you. Because she can crawl in that.
Anyway.
So how does that relate to communication?
We are forced... Okay, so that relates to communication in that I am either forced to get over it, communicate with you better in the first place so that I don't get that upset. Yeah. Learn how to deal with being upset within myself so that I can not get to that point of being that upset, or just stop and not work. Mm-hmm. And I think that a lot of people aren't forced to make those decisions, and so they're not forced to learn how to communicate. It kind of reminds me of years ago you said, oh, I just want to get like a small dog because then I'd never have to train it, because if it gets upset, you can just lift it up and walk away. And I was like appalled. I'm like, what? That sounds terrible. That sounds like the makings of a horrible dog. But my point is that I think a lot of people's relationships are little dogs that they hardly see the person in the first place, and they're not, it's just not as crucial that they get along, or they have space from each other, right? Like if you and I get in trouble, or if you and I are grounded, if you and I get in an argument early in the morning, one of us isn't going to work for 8 hours to give this break in being away from each other and time to calm down and focus on other things. It's our whole worlds are each other. Yeah. We get in an argument at 9 a.m. Fuck.
We're together all day.
Yeah, we're together all day. 99% of the time we have work to do that has to get done that involves the other person. Like,
yeah,
there is no avoiding each other. There is no, for better or worse, like, absence to make the heart grow fonder. There's just...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, too, we handle it in very different ways. Like, I think with the way that I was raised, I don't stay mad very long. Like, I might be upset, but I'm not like... I'm not someone who's like, I need this space. You know what I mean? Like, the way that I was raised was basically in an argument, everyone's right and everyone's wrong.
Yeah, that's not how I was raised.
I know.
Not even close.
So for me, it's like we get in an argument and like, even if like sometimes my feelings will be hurt for a while and I'll be sad for a while, but it's different. It's not like being around you is making me more upset. And if I need space, which is rare, I'll take it, you know? And that's how you know that I'm like really upset.
Yeah. When you need space from me, it's clear something's wrong.
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting because we were raised in very different ways.
Well, okay. So again, this is why I think this would be an interesting podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Because the topics that we could talk about could range from how we were raised, how we watched our parents argue, to like early relationships. And in that way, it could be random. It could be all over the place, right?
Yeah.
Like, we don't have to do these in chronological order. And then now, like for example, let's say we had a podcast scheduled to record today. I was busy doing my other stuff, super anxious, super stressed about other things. You felt really sensitive and needy.
Mm-hmm.
How did we navigate that? That would be the conversation. Like, how did you feel? How did I feel?
Yeah.
How did we figure that out between the two of us? Did we? I mean, because I would argue, like, kind of no, not really.
Yeah, I would say that we didn't, other than for me, it was just accepting this is just how I'm feeling today. And I've communicated that, and what happens, happens. And like, like, it's up to me to put it on you to fix it, or not put it on myself to do stuff that I enjoy, you know?
There we go. That's the episode. It's gold.
I mean, like, Rianne talked to me a lot about her acceptance and commitment therapy that her therapist to talk to her about. And I think, like, just a little bit I know about it has been really helpful for me. Are you waiting for me to elaborate?
Yeah.
Oh. I can tell if you're about to say something or not. It's basically like the gist of it, and Rianne has put it better in some of her YouTube videos, is being like, this is how things are, or this is how I'm feeling, and I'm okay with feeling that way. And just kind of, not necessarily just like you move on, but like, you're just like, this is just what that situation is, or that's what I'm feeling right now, and that's fine. And for me too, it's like a huge thing of like, even when I'm feeling needy and upset, if I tell you, hey, I'm feeling needy and upset and I need more attention from you, understanding you can't always give that. So I need to find other ways. It's not dependent on you to resolve my issues. It's dependent on me. And so maybe it means I talk more to other people like I did today.
Like Rianne.
Yeah, Rianne and
Jess.
And Jess, yeah. And like, and then finding stuff that I want to do that helps me feel productive and puts me in a different state. Like, that's why I was cleaning the office and stuff.
See? This is what I'm saying. This is a podcast.
Okay.
And again, I'm not saying it's the end all be all. I'm not saying that it's going to be easy.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I think that number one, most important, we could add a lot of value to people's lives by talking about this stuff, because I think it's stuff that needs to be talked about. And number two, we could actually do it on a consistent basis, because there's going to be a never-ending supply of relationship stuff to talk about, and stuff that we're both going to be working on.
Yeah. Yeah, because like it ties heavily into self-improvement, which is one of the content avenues I wanted to explore more this year.
Yeah.
Because I need to do it for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I just want to make a quick note about these mics, since the whole point of this was a mic test, which is something I'm kind of happy about, actually.
Oh, you can see like levels and stuff on there?
Yep. I can see levels, and it would at least appear as though my mic is picking up you more than your mic is picking up me. And the reason that's exciting is because my mic is the one that we're going to be getting rid of. I mean, we're going to be keeping it for the videos.
Yeah.
It's our filming mic. But I will have a mic like yours.
Yeah.
Which, at least, on these levels, appears to be rejecting my noise better than this one is rejecting your noise.
That's good.
Yeah.
Is rejecting noise a technical term? Or is that your descriptor of it? It's a funny phrase.
I don't know.
Blocking it. No. Get away. Get away, noise.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't want you here.
I don't know that much about microphones.
Go home to your mom. Sorry.
Jesus Christ. I really love that applesauce has finally decided to curl up on these. Oh,
yeah, she's gonna go to sleep. I'm sorry for interrupting you. What were you saying?
That's fine. Really, what we should do is bring out the little cat tree and like put it right here when we're doing this, so that she can just join us.
Yeah, she would love that, because that's what she wants. She wants to sit with me, but she doesn't want to sit on the chair with me.
Right.
And she doesn't want to sit in my lap, but she wants to sit. It's really funny. But it's like why she sits on my desk and my chair arm when I work, and she just wants to be close to me.
Absolutely.
What do you think, applesauce? Is that true? She's like, I'm sleepy. Dinner's late.
So what are some other podcast ideas?
I don't know.
Really? You haven't put any thought into this at all? What you might want to talk about in a podcast? That makes me sad.
No, it's just I didn't think we were going to be doing this tonight, so... trying to think of what I've thought about. Yeah, I mean, like what I've said is I'd like to do like more self-improvement type stuff. I think that would be a good avenue. So if relationships would encompass that, then I think that's a good one.
Well, is there a different format or different type of self-improvement content that you think you and I would talk about? Like, is there something you have in mind?
No, I was just thinking of the general topic. And I guess if it's relationships, that could be the relationship with yourself, too.
Mm-hmm. I don't have a very good relationship with myself, if I'm being honest.
Mine has not been great for a while, but it's improving. I'm putting more effort into it.
I feel like I went from thinking I loved myself and I hated other people to realizing that I pretty much despise myself and really love other people.
That's heavy.
I know.
So how can you love yourself? How can you get to that
point?
point?
Hold on, motherfucker.
Hey.
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 Hey now.
Hey now. Don't dream it's over.
Hey now. Hey now. Hey now. Don't get us a copyright strike. Don't get us a copyright strike. I can do that because it's a parody technically now.
Mikey, though, got one of her videos taken down by humming a song.
But that's because humming a song is not a parody.
Oh. I just figured
humming a song and a parody are very different things.
I know they're very different things. I guess I just didn't... Because if you're doing a parody, it's still the same tune. And isn't that similar to humming it?
Yes, it's similar, but one is a parody and one is humming the song.
Oh, okay. I didn't think... I thought what would matter about that is the fact that a parody would be the same tune, and that is why they were able to go after her, because if you're humming, it's just the tune. Whereas a parody is also the tune. So in my mind, they're very similar. Yes, I get the difference.
No one's saying they're not similar. They are very similar.
Yes.
But there is a distinction there that makes it different. That's why, like, I recently saw... Yes, I was watching a Weird Al interview. And I recently saw a Weird Al interview where they were asking him, do you get permission? And he was like, well, I don't have to legally. I've never had to, but I always get permission. And if they say no, I don't do it. And apparently Prince is one of like 2 people to ever only, like 2 people only ever to say no to having Weird Al parody.
Did he say who the other one was?
Honestly, it may have only been Prince. I'm saying one of 2, and I don't remember that it was actually that number, but I remember specifically in the interview him saying Prince.
Yeah, I could see that.
Which is especially tough for Weird Al now that Prince has passed, because now there's no chance.
Yeah.
And I think that Weird Al has, as strange as the following sentence is, I think that Weird Al has enough integrity and character. I mean, I think Weird Al is a good dude.
The fact that he would even ask to begin with.
Yeah, I think he's a good guy. I think he's like the kind of guy that a lot of us could be friends with. He seems like just a nice dude who has a weird sense of humor, and I love him. And I love UHF. I know you haven't seen it.
I have seen it. We watched it together years ago.
Did you love it? No, you were like, oh, a lot of this is weirdly racist.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of those movies that has not aged well, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's a movie where if you saw it as a kid, you have these nostalgic memories, but if you see it now, you're like, oh, a lot of this is weird. Yeah, hard to look past.
Yeah. So, anyway, where were we? Oh, right. Parodies. Yeah. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, so don't...
I'm not a lawyer, so don't listen to what I'm saying.
But from what I've talked to our attorney about, it's a lot of these small things where there's this tiny distinction.
It's like commentary. That's how a lot of the like gossip channels can exist, because they're like, it's commentary.
Yeah.
And technically it's per YouTube standards. They're like, it's not bullying, it's comedy, and commentary.
Yeah.
And there's a very fine line a lot of the time.
There sure is.
And I feel that way between what you're saying about a parody and Mikey humming. I feel like it's a pretty fine line.
Well,
I guess humming can't be a parody.
It is a fine line, but that's the point.
Yeah,
the point is that there has to be a line somewhere.
Yeah.
No matter how fine it is.
Yeah, totally.
It's a fine little line. Yeah. Maybe I should start a Logical Harmony parody channel.
Please don't.
Or I just do like slow motion of you.
Please don't encourage any of that stuff.
Or something.
Please don't encourage any of that.
What if I just sat in your chair and every video that you did, I just recreated, but I just made like if you did like an Oprah full face, I would do that.
That'd be pretty funny. That'd be pretty funny.
But for every video, I feel like it'd get pretty old.
It would get pretty old.
I'm going to do one on hand sanitizer where I spray it in my mouth and talk about how you need to sanitize your mouth parts.
Don't do that. Do you remember in like middle school when they were like, kids are going to drink hand sanitizer to get drunk, and they took it away from everyone? Was that just an Oregon thing?
Well, first of all, I definitely didn't have hand sanitizer in middle school.
I didn't either, but some kids did. And our school banned it.
I mean, you and I are very different in age. So maybe it was a generational thing that I missed out on. The look on Tashina's face.
Mean.
Oh my gosh. Listen, when you're 75 like Tashina is,
I am not 75.
And 23 like I am.
You are not 23.
There tend to be some things in your relationship that you just can't relate to.
No.
Wrinkles, for example, or just like, being friends with the Golden Girls, like just stuff that you did in your teen years that I just can't relate to. So no, I don't remember that happening. I literally almost just spit out my beer.
I know. I was waiting. I was waiting for that to happen. I think it was just like a thing with my middle school where they were weird about it.
Yeah.
Because I think there was probably like one kid. I think it was like the Tide Pod thing where like one person somewhere did it. And then they're like, whoa. kids are idiots and they're all going to do this. I mean, I think way more than one person did the Tide Pod thing. But, like, you get my point.
Yeah, I do get your point. It reminds me of... Oh, please.
Sorry, I was going to say, I think what it was is I think in our health class, I think the teacher was like, yeah, there's alcohol in this. And then the principal was like, whoa, 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 you said there's alcohol. They're going to drink it now. I think it was something extreme and stupid like that. And then everyone's lockers got searched and any hand sanitizer that was found was thrown away. Anyway, continue.
I have a similar story, but it didn't go that far. I had acquired stink bombs, like the like chemical in glass ones.
I didn't know that existed.
Oh yeah, in fact, I think
Ew.
I have some in a box somewhere.
What? In our house?
Yeah.
Gross. Find them.
I do.
Get rid of them.
Find them and just like destroy them, like just break them. Okay. Yeah. Good. Anyway, I don't remember how the conversation started, but our teacher was listing things and I was like, oh yeah, or this chemical. And he was like, we don't really talk about that here. Cause this is post Columbine. Mm-hmm. And I feel like people who didn't grow up pre-Columbine, this is a weird thing to think about. School shootings are like normal now.
Yeah.
Like that's like normal shit.
Yeah, it's like total. Like there are generations of people where it's happened their whole lives.
Right. It's fucking crazy.
It's sad.
But for us, when Columbine happened, the whole fucking country was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Now, not holy shit enough to like change any laws or like make sure that kids can't get their hands on assault rifles or that mass shootings can't be a thing. It wasn't that big a deal, apparently. But it was a big enough deal that it had our attention.
Yeah.
Anyway, apparently the chemical that I listed off in this class is used to make bombs. And so, the teacher was like,
no.
Dude. And then he and I kind of had a brief, I mean, it was clear, I think it was clear to him that he knew what I was saying and I didn't.
Yeah.
So he was just kind of like, okay, you don't get this, but
don't say it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a teacher who had an impact on me for sure.
Was he the one that Oh.
You've never heard of him before. But go ahead, I want to hear what you're going to say.
I was going to ask if he's the one we ran into outside of Whole Foods that one time.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Totally different school. Years apart. Yeah.
Okay.
He was cool too though. Yeah. He also had an impact. Mm-hmm. All right, well, I think we're at about an hour. We've definitely done enough of a test for me to get an idea of this whole situation. I'm going to take a photo. Maybe I'll just take a photo. Well, I'll stop. We should stop the recording. Do you have anything to say before we stop?
No.